Hi everyone, hope everybody's doing well. Just a couple of things I want to be clear before getting into anything. What I'm going to be talking about is a very serious issue, and I feel like it's something that needs to be addressed. 1 in 5 people will suffer from some sort of mental health illness or experience throughout their lifetime, and I think that's a number that's way too common. If you don't have the time to watch this video from start to finish, please save it and please get around to it when you do have time. The reasons why I'm making this video is because I want to help people understand what they are feeling and experiencing they are not alone in, and that they should never feel alone in the way that they may think or feel. I also want to make this video because I want to give an insight for people that are looking in on anxiety and depression, how it works and how it can affect people. What I believe that mental health awareness is lacking is a relatable role model that can reach out and give help and advice to other people. I felt that going on a platform like YouTube I can get a large reach. Also, it's easily accessible whenever you have time to watch it. I think that one of the biggest stigmas that is surrounding mental health is the difficulty that people may find trying to reach out to other people about what they are dealing with, and I think that's something that needs to change. To start off with, I'm going to be speaking about my personal experiences with this topic and then go into ways to possibly help and cope in these situations. By speaking about myself, I'm not seeking sympathy. I'm trying to get people to realise what may be going on in their head that they might not yet understand. So when I was probably about late 17, early 18, that's when I first started realising that I was dealing with anxiety, and then probably about late 19 to early 20 is when I first started seeing that I was dealing with depression. At the start of experiencing it all, I found it really difficult to understand why I was having these thoughts, feelings and emotions, and I believe that's probably the hardest part about having anxiety and depression. You know, you have all these thoughts running through your body and you don't know why or what it's doing to you. I noticed the more that I started talking about it is when I was starting to be able to cope with it more. So with my anxiety, I noticed when I was having things like bad headaches to like chest pains and whatnot, I started like googling my symptoms to try to find out what was wrong with me. And the more I did that, the more I was overlooking my thoughts and the worse my anxiety was getting. So I would Google chest pains and it would come up with having heart attacks and whatnot, which got me overthinking and making my anxiety just go through my head. I didn't know what was going on, and I just kept on coming to conclusions when they weren't the right ones. On many of these occasions as well, I found myself not being able to calm myself down, and that led to things like very bad anxiety attacks and just freaking the absolute hell out. So when I was seeing a psychiatrist for my anxiety, he told me that this was my head having difficulty distinguishing between flight or fight mode, and pretty much what this is the physical symptoms linked to what you're thinking in your head, and pretty much I was overthinking a lot of my physical symptoms and I was working myself up to ways that I shouldn't have been. So some of the symptoms that come with anxiety can be chest pain, difficulty breathing, feeling lightheaded, sweaty palms, sweaty feet, not being able to eat, and a lot of these symptoms I had a lot of the time when I was overthinking. So I thought, holy crap, I can't breathe, my chest is tight, my hands are all sweaty, my head's light, I'm having a heart attack, and that wasn't the case. To this day I still have a lot of trouble with distinguishing from the two, and I still get worked up over a lot of my physical symptoms even though I know I shouldn't be, and that's something that I'm still trying to overcome. I think a lot of my anxiety also stems from the fact that I've got a huge fear of death. I believe my fear of death stems from the fear of also the unknown, and I feel that's something nobody has an answer for, which makes it really hard to deal with. I don't really want to get into that too much because I kind of want to do like a separate video on that itself, but yeah. Another thing with my anxiety as well, I feel that all of these symptoms combined with my overthinking, fear of the unknown, fear of death, is a lot of things that kept me up at night, and I find that because it's hard to shut off all these thoughts and emotions and just fall asleep, especially when they're persistent, just nagging at you. Anxiety and depression has also affected the way that I perceive and read conversations, in the way that when things are said and not said, I think differently to the normal person would. This has troubled me personally in a lot of relationships and also with friends and family, because I feel like the way that I interpret things can be completely different to the way that they're meant. I feel like this is such a hard thing in the present day because it's so hard to understand tone over messenger or just messages in general. Just being able to read how somebody said something, you know, there's just a lot of confusion between it. The way that I've tried dealing with this and overcoming this is by trying not to read into things too deep. I've learned to deal with this by, when I don't completely understand something, that I ask for a bit more clarification on how something is meant so that I don't jump to conclusions and overwork myself and also misunderstand what is meant. I feel like the biggest misconception about depression is that if you're depressed that you're also suicidal. And that can be the case for some people, but for some people it can also be completely different. For me, I think depression can be everything from the lack of motivation to do things, you know, like getting out of bed in the morning or going to work, to other things as well, like seeing your self-worth in the sense of how other people see you. Depression can even make you feel like a burden to your own family and friends, when it can be completely the opposite case. It's just something that's going on in your head and that's what you truly believe, and it's hard when somebody says something to believe it. And I feel like it can also make you want to cancel plans on your friends, you know, just want to stay home, want to stay in bed, just be by yourself because you feel like you're trouble to other people, and sometimes it's completely not true. Personally, I believe that my depression stems from a big combination of all of this, and lately I think I've been doing better because I've been getting myself into better mindsets and better habits to be able to get on top of it all. Talking about getting on top of it all, I feel like it's important to set goals. They don't have to be big at the start, but just setting goals is a great way that you can get over what you're thinking and gets you into a better mindset to escape those thoughts. At the start, these small goals can be things like making sure you get to bed at a certain time every night, you know, making sure you have a clean room as much as you possibly can, and also, you know, only spending like a certain amount of time on social media every day. Once you start getting on top of all the small goals, you can then like start aiming for bigger goals. So trying to eat healthy like every day, you know, not trying to eat as much fast food, trying to eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. And then also trying to exercise as often as you can, because I believe that's a good way to get on top of it all. I definitely know that it's easier said than done, but if you put your mind to it and you really believe it and want to get better, then you can really do it, and there's nothing really stopping you. Lately I've been trying to limit my time on social media, and I believe that's a good thing because social medias give so many unrealistic expectations, you know, trying to live up to these big stars and how they live their lives when it's really hard, and it's not the case. It's not something that we should be striving for. We should just be living our lives and just taking it one day at a time. I know that when I do limit my time on social media, so only spending a certain amount of time on it each day, I can definitely see the change in my moods and my attitudes towards certain things in life, and I believe that's a big strong point in today's generation and how we live now with the amount of things that are online and on our phones. It really does need to be considered on how much time we are spending on it all. I personally believe that there's such a broad spectrum when it does come to anxiety and depression, in the sense of it affects people in so many different ways and we don't completely understand how it does. And the best thing that we can possibly do is to speak to people. And there's no shame at all in ever just raising what's going on in your mind, because that's the best thing that you can possibly do. Another thing that I want to raise is the fact that mental illnesses don't actually have a face. Somebody can put up the brightest smile and you'll never truly know what's going on behind that smile. And that's something that we need to realise. Even just noticing the small differences in somebody's mood or attitude, you can always just ask, what's going on, mate, are you alright? Just the simple things, you know. I lastly want to address that if you are struggling with any sort of mental illness, the answer is not taking your life. There are so many avenues you can go about getting better and seeking help that taking your life is just not the way to go about it. Your life is precious and you mean everything. Your family, your friends, everybody will be missing you. Just please stick in there and seek help. In the description I'll be putting all the phone lines and all the places that you can contact if you are struggling. Please do seek help.